Everyone. This is Black People at Brunch. I was supposed to do a live, but we're having some technical difficulties. So here's Sunday's brunch. So to start, I want to introduce everyone I have here with me today. So Bree and Leah, you want to introduce yourself?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. Hello, my name is Brianna. I am 29 and I live outside of San Antonio. I am currently a PhD student and I also teach part-time online. And I'm excited to be here. I don't have my brunch though. I already ate, but I do have water and I'm excited to be here.
Hey, how you doing, y'all? Definitely excited to be here. Looking forward to the conversation. I know it's going to be pretty lively, and I'm hoping we get some varied opinions. Also, I live in Alabama, so I'm not in the Texas area. I'm an electrical engineer by trade. Love to learn, try new things, and talk about interesting subjects.
All right, so you guys know me. This is my third video now, so y'all should know me by now. So for brunch, I am having, because I always do my meal, so I am having a crepe, and I just did like blackberries, strawberries, and I have like a cream, and all of this is also on the inside. And then I have scrambled eggs and some fruit.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm having fruit for brunch. I'm having grapefruit and peaches.
And Brianna's having water.
Yeah, I have water.
Okay, so today's topic, since the media has been so like taken over by this Amber Gyger and what's the guy's name?
Botham Jean.
Yeah, Botham Jean. And so that's going to be kind of like our discussion today, is the whole situation. Basically, she was arrested and convicted. She accidentally went into his house, and she thought it was her house. Thought it was her apartment, and so she shot and killed him in his apartment. At the time, he was sitting on his couch, eating ice cream and watching a football game. And she had, on her side, she had worked 14 hours. She was a police officer, and she said she was tired. She thought it was her apartment. She parked on the wrong floor and went to his apartment. Somehow she was able to scan into the apartment with her key card and shot and killed him. So that's pretty much what happened. She was convicted and given 10 years. And the Black community, I think it's a little bit of mixed views. But the first question, or I guess I kind of just want to kind of get the senses of where everyone stands. The first question, I guess, is, do you think it was an accident? It's kind of the basis. Do you think she accidentally went to this guy's house and shot him? Bree?
So I will say that I do believe that it was an accident in terms of her going into the wrong apartment. But what happened after that was not an accident, because it doesn't take more than 1 second to realize, hey, I'm not in my home. And so her reaction being, I'm going to shoot this Black man that I see in a space that is not mine, I don't think that was accidental. And I think that shows her bias, because she, whether she realizes it or not, has been taught that this man is someone she's supposed to fear. And so she felt like, I am in danger and I need to protect myself, even though I'm not in my own home. And so I don't think that any of the events that transpired after she realized that was an accident.
Okay. Mom, and you'll hear me call Leah mom, because that's my mom. And what do you think?
Do I think it was an accident? To be honest, I don't know. I can believe that her going to that apartment and getting in seems really, really suspect. Because it's like there was a whole series of things that just weren't right. And it just, all of this stuff just kind of fell into that one category of, a series of unfortunate events. And it's like, how is this even possible? That she happened to be a police officer. She happened to be really tired. She happened to park on the wrong level. She happened to go to this particular, but then at the same time, what is her motive? So it just seems really, really, really weird that it happened the way that it happened. I have nothing that says it wasn't an accident. It just seems like it's just so strange. Now, of course, and I'm assuming we're going to get into it, there's all this other stuff that's starting to come out that just puts a question mark around all of it.
Exactly.
And so now I'm like, I honestly, I don't know. It's just, it just seems like there's something odd here, whatever that is.
Well, so I lean on the side that it was an accident. Do I think that she purposely shot him thinking, okay, this is a black man and this is my opportunity to shoot a black man? I don't think that. But I do think that she probably could have used other. Hey, Harlem.
That's what
I do think that she probably could have used any other method, like anything else. Like I feel like she went to the extreme too quickly. Like she didn't stop to try to assess the situation. She didn't say, hey, freeze, you're in my apartment. She didn't just point the gun at him. She immediately shot. And that could have been due to her being tired, So, but I find it hard to believe that she actually did it on purpose. So, so with that being said, because at this point, none of us have said that she really did it on purpose as far as her getting to his apartment.
Yeah, I don't think that she intentionally went there specifically to kill him.
Yeah.
That I don't believe. Do I believe there's something, but I think there's a question mark around it, is the way I see it. It just seems like there's something we're missing. That's what it feels like to me. Like, okay, is there something else going on that we don't know?
So,
because it just God.
But with that being said, though, if it's an accident, do you think for somebody to accidentally have went to his apartment, I think that she intentionally shot him because you can't she didn't accidentally shoot him,
Right.
She intentionally shot him. But do you think that 10 years is technically enough for an accident?
No, I don't think so, because I think that if it was the other way around, he would have gotten way longer.
Yeah, but can we as Black people say, okay, because we are treated with injustice, we have to now treat other people with injustice? Is that what we're saying?
No, but to me, my response is not about, I'm not, okay, let me back up. I'm saying that he would have gotten a longer sentence because of his race. And I don't think that can be ignored. And I think that she got a lighter sentence because of her race, because the prosecutors recommended way longer. So the fact, like, they recommended like 5 to 99 or something like that. So she got like the bare minimum. She's not going to serve the full 10 years. She's probably going to serve 5 years, maybe 5 to 7, and then get off with good behavior. And then she's going to be able to get out. And based on how things have been in the past, that would not have happened if he was the one who accidentally came to her home and shot her. And I think that is a complete injustice, because again, if the shoe was on the other foot, that would not have been the case. And it wouldn't have been a question. He wouldn't have gotten a hug. Nobody would have said that they were forgiving him or anything like that. It would have been like justice served. And he probably should have gotten longer than whatever sentence that they would have given him.
Now, I will say this. I think that because this particular case has gotten so much publicity, we're focusing on it and we're making it this worst case scenario. And a lot of times we say, well, hey, if the shoe was on the other foot, he wouldn't have gotten the time. But that's not entirely true. I know two situations personally that were one was absolute, it was murder, and the other one was not. It was an accident, but they both ended up doing less than 10 years, and these were Black men. and they actually both did less. And so, but the problem is those types of cases aren't publicized. There are a lot of times when, as Black people, we, you know, when we're in court, or not we as in me, but when Black people end up going to prison, a lot of times they've had a lot of chances. We don't know about that. We don't know that there was this long history of somebody that was working with these kids when they were juveniles, or even before they, you know, even started, you know, looking at the criminal court system. Long before that, people have been working with them, trying to give them chances. They have all these programs and these boot camps and all this stuff. And we just assume that, hey, there's just this person that all of a sudden just does something, and now they're getting 50 years or 100 years in prison, but we don't understand that there was a history. Very, very rarely do you have someone that's completely clean, even as a Black person, and then they just get hit with the book when they do something, when something goes wrong. And so, you know, a lot of times we assume that, hey, if this was a Black person, they would, you know, get the death penalty, when a lot of times it doesn't work like that. But we feel like that, but, you know, it doesn't work like that.
So I'll say that when I say that I think that he would have gotten a longer sentence, that's not me making an assumption. That's like looking off of the last couple of years of cases that have happened. And I will say this, I think that his gender made a difference too, because I do believe that if it was a Black woman who shot whoever, I do think that we would have experienced a different thing too. So I do think that him as a Black man, I do think that if the shoe was on the other foot and he was the one that shot a white woman, especially because of the way that white women get treated and talked about in the media anyway, like they're seen as like these like precious things that needs to be protected. I do think that the way that the case would have been talked about would have been completely different. Now, in terms of the case and her, like it getting all this attention, I think that it's getting the attention that it has, one, because it actually went to trial. Because I remember when this happened, I didn't even expect it to go to trial. I thought she was gonna, like, nothing was gonna happen. She was gonna get a slap on the wrist and that was that, or she would have settled out of court or something like that. So I didn't think that it was gonna go to trial. And so I think that it going to trial is what made it get publicized. And I think that honestly, to me, it sounds like she's being used as a scapegoat, because in similar situations, they wouldn't have even gone to trial, or it would have been really quickly. So I do think that she's being used as a scapegoat. And I do think that it's kind of being used as like, look, we prosecuted her, so we gave y'all what y'all wanted. In the future, we'll see if something similar happens, but most of the time when these kind of things happen, I haven't even seen it gone to trial. So I do think that in this situation, it got publicized because of the fact that it even went to trial in the first place. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I figured it would go to trial, because I don't think that they wanted. I think Black people would have rioted in the streets if it wouldn't have went to trial. Hey Harlem, I think that Black people would have rioted in the streets if it wouldn't have went to trial. But so do you think that as Black people, I mean, can we really argue if the family forgave him? So the brother hugged her in court, and then the father made a statement about wanting to develop a relationship with the family. Excuse me. And then the judge hugged the woman. That was another thing. And then during the sentencing, the bailiff was brushing her hair. So out of all of those gestures, so would you say that it was too much? Because it seemed like everyone there kind of sympathized with her. Like it seemed like everyone there was convinced it was an accident. She shouldn't do time, because the judge hugged her, the brother hugged her, the dad made a statement. I think the mom has now made a statement. And also the bailiff was brushing her hair. So how do y'all feel about like those gestures from other Black people?
I think it was ridiculous. And I would say this, I was thinking about this because my dad was shot about almost 10 years ago. And I was thinking about, I mean, his case never went to trial, but I was thinking about like, if I was at the trial and let's say that he did pass away, he didn't pass away, but let's say he did, or even if I came face to face with the person who shot him, would I have given that person a hug, or would I have, said like, I would want to be your friend, or whatever he said? And the answer is hell no, because yes, you might not have intended to shoot him, sure, but I don't believe in that instance that forgiveness is necessary. I acknowledge the fact that you did something that you didn't intend to do, but me forgiving you is not bringing my brother back, because this murder made no sense. It didn't have to happen. And so I don't think that, I thought that was ridiculous. I have never seen anything like that before in my entire life. I've never seen a judge do something like that. I've never seen a bailiff rub somebody's hair like that. Like that, it didn't make any sense. Like, why are you touching her at all? That doesn't make sense. And if she is found guilty, why are you giving her a hug? Like, I to me, it just seemed like a performance, and I didn't understand the purpose of it. And I would say, I don't know if this is 100% true, but I saw that his mama was like, I don't forgive her. And like, I don't agree with what the dad and the brother are saying. But like I was thinking about what I would do. And if I came face to face with the person who shot my dad, there is no way in hell that I would be able to say, I forgive you. Or if he did get arrested, that I would say, like, I would give him Bible scriptures. Like, I could not see myself doing that.
But see, all of those things, all of those things, in addition to things that have happened since the trial, that's what's making me think, okay, what is there something we don't know? Is there something that hadn't been publicized? Were there things said during the trial that didn't make it out of the courtroom? What's going on here? Because they are a little bit too accommodating to this woman. And then, now, of course, we know that the next door neighbor was shot and killed. Yeah. Now we know that there was another neighbor, the woman that apparently had video of when Amber Gyger came out of the apartment. She had 60 seconds of video. And now, and that woman lost her job and her credibility. And now she's, having some issues. So what's going on that all of these people right in this little circle have had all these issues? What were they all involved in, or what's going on that we just don't know? And it makes you kind of question, was there a bigger issue here?
Yeah,
I agree.
I do agree. I think that something had to have been said in that courtroom that wasn't publicized, because they were extremely, like you said, I've never seen a judge get off the stand and hug somebody who committed murder like that. It's one thing to say, okay, it was an accident and we think she should get 10 years. It's another thing to get down and hug her and have the bailiff brushing her hair. It was like, as Black people, it goes to the name of the show is, as Black people, is the Black community too forgiving? Like, do we take things like this? And it's one thing to say, okay, yeah, it was an accident, but to be hugging her, as Black people, do we take it too far? Are we not? Because if this would have been the gay community, if this would have been the Jewish community, any other community wouldn't stand for stuff like this. People would be having parades and rioting, and there was a whole Me Too movement. You know what I'm saying? Like for women. So as Black people, why don't we, in times like this, stand up and say something? Do you think the Black community is too forgiving in instances like this?
I will say that based on what I've seen, and this is just off of my timeline on social media, I have seen people being completely outraged over what his dad and brother said, and also over, like seeing the judge, seeing the bailiff and stuff. So it could be the people that I follow, but I haven't seen anybody that's like, I agree with what they're saying in terms of like, we should be forgiving her. I've seen a complete opposite response.
Yeah, but the difference with the Black community and other communities is we'll go to YouTube and we'll go to Facebook and we'll be outraged there, but we won't be outraged at the voting booth. We won't be outraged in the streets and in the community. We won't enact change the way other communities will. Because
I have a question for you. So in terms of that, what do you think that would look like right now, in response to this situation? What do you think that would look like?
I think that in response to this situation, I don't know. I know as Black people, we should stop. One of the things that we should start doing is start patronizing Black businesses more, start investing ourselves in Black companies more, and stop putting our money in other, avenues or in other communities that aren't supporting us. If we aren't getting, the support, like things like the judge, or those positions are voted for. That judge was voted in. You know what I'm saying? Like it's too easy to say we don't like how our community is being treated by the law, So we're going to replace the lawmakers. We're going to replace, but we don't do that. We don't go to the polls and vote in people that have our best interests in mind. We'll riot, and sometimes we'll even march, but that we have to start doing more than just that.
And you're absolutely right. I think we have a bad habit as a whole of we're either on or off, hot or cold. We're either all in, and then we're just, balls to the wall, so to speak. And then all of a sudden, after 3 days, okay, enough of that, moving on to the next thing. And then you just kind of drop it versus, no, we need to, even that out a little bit. And if you really feel a certain way about something, follow through, make changes. A lot of people that I've seen, a lot of Black people I've talked to, don't really feel like anything we do is really going to change anything. They feel like, well, hey, it's just me. What difference does it make if I vote? My one vote don't count. Or, if I go there and I go into a Black store and I spend $20 a month, that's just $20 a month. What difference does that make? That's not going to make a difference if they close down. So why should I even try? Oh, it doesn't matter if I do this or don't do this. If I go to the town meeting and I listen to, what our counselors or congressmen or commissioners have to say, aldermen, whatever you have in your city. If I go there and I'm listening to, what they're talking about in the town meetings, I'm just one person. What difference does it make? And so what happens is each individual will have that attitude. And so when it's all said and done, nobody does anything. Yeah. Whereas if you could get in a small town, if you can get 5 to 10 people Black people to actually say, you know what, I want to understand what's going on and actually become active participants in the world around them. And they're just in their town. We're not even talking about on a national scale, but just in your town, if you can become an active participant, that would make all the difference in the world, I believe. I think that as a people, Black people tend to act renters and not owners. This is not my place. This is not my country. This is not my town. It's theirs. I'm just here. So I don't have to worry about taking care of this or dealing with the laws or whatever. And then we'll complain about the laws they enact. Well, of course they did what they wanted to do. If you wanted to do something, if you had an opinion, why didn't you go and make it known? They're going to do what's in their best interest. But we sit back and we kind of depend on other people to take care of our interests instead of saying, hey, they're going to take care of their interests. I need to take care of my interests. And that's supposed to be the way that it's supposed to be. That's actually right. I don't know why we expect other people to care more about what's going on with us than we do.
Yeah.
So I'll say that in terms of the judge, I am not familiar with the area. Like, I know it was in Dallas, but I'm not familiar with like the area of where the judge was elected. So are you aware of the demographics of the area that the judge is representing?
I am not. So I don't know if she was, I don't know the area. I know if they, if they based it on where the crime happened, from what I know, it was a affluent area. But I don't know the actual demographics.
Well, no, the reason I was asking is because like when we were just like y'all were talking about like voting and stuff. So in terms of her being voted in, I was asking if you knew the demographics of the area because I don't know the community that is responsible for voting for her. So that's why I was asking, do you know what the demographics are? Because I honestly don't know. I know Dallas is a big city, so I don't know like who all like what her area is and like what that what her constituents look like. Yeah. So I don't know that it is 100% accurate to say that we voted her in, meaning Black people, because if she's in an area where there aren't a lot of Black people, then they might not have been responsible for voting her in. But at the same time, I also don't know her history. So this might have also been a wake-up call. Like, I had no idea she was going to act like that. And it'll be interesting to see in the next round of elections who runs up against her and if she gets reelected, especially with all of this happening now. Because I don't know if she's had a prior history of acting how she's acting now, because I literally have never seen this before. Yeah. So I don't know if like this was the first time that she's done this, if she's done this before and this is the first time it's been advertised in the media. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see in the next election like because she's gonna have to do a lot of making up for this, because this is ridiculous. And so it'll be interesting to see like what her platform is when she runs again, if she runs again. Because I also saw that like the police force advocated for her and was like pushing her when she was running, which is not a surprise. And probably also explains why she acted that way too. But I say that to say that I'm interested to know like what that looks like, because the Black community is a big group. Like we are a really big group. And so we all have different interests. We all have different things that go on. So it's interesting to see what that area would be, like what her constituents are. Cause I am not familiar with Dallas at all. And I don't know what the makeup is in that area. In terms of the jury, I know that the jury was a lot of people of color, which I'm glad that was the case. Cause it probably would have also went a lot differently if the jury looked like her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you're right. I think I don't know what the makeup is, but I definitely am wondering, is she gonna run again? Is she gonna get voted in again? Because not only did she hug the woman, but while the jurors were deliberating, she was telling them, "Hey, you guys should consider the castle law." And in Texas, the castle law means basically if someone is in your home, in your castle, your home, your car, your property, you have the right to shoot and kill.
Yeah.
And she was saying, well, she thought it was her home, so you guys should consider the castle law. And my thing as the judge, that's not your place to offer a defense. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not what you're there for. You know what I'm saying? The defense, the defender should offer that defense, not you. You're not supposed to talk to the jurors and be like, hey guys, have you thought about this? Like that was a big surprise for me also. But you guys were talking about the Black community, and another topic that I was watching another video on YouTube, and I did not know until recently that he is not African American. He was St. Lucia.
He was from where?
St. Lucia. So he's from the Caribbean. And that poses another question. As African Americans, do you think that we should rally behind someone who's not necessarily African American? Because some people feel like it wasn't really our place to step in and say anything, because he falls, you know, in a different diaspora. So, you know, you don't see people from Africa and the Caribbean rallying for us as African Americans. So should we rally for him as a Caribbean? You know, I don't know if he's American. I believe he's American though, but he's definitely not African American. So what's your take on him not being African American, and if this is even an African American problem? Either one.
I have to say, I don't necessarily. I think this whole issue is twofold, because the only reason we care is because he had darker skin. If he would have been a white person that she got into his apartment and shot him, would we even be having that? If this was been a white on white crime, would we be talking about, see, this is what they do, and how many white on white crimes are even put out there like this? Because typically color on color does crime to their own color. You don't have that much mixing going on most of the time anyway. Now, does it matter that he was not born in the United States? The way that we are, and this goes back to that whole question of, are we too forgiving? And my answer to that is yes. As a whole, we are much too forgiving. We are much too accepting. We are much too open. We tend to include everyone. We're kind of like, oh, let everyone come and let everyone sit at the table. If you have a little bit of color, a little tint to you, then you can be a part of us. We, as a whole, we tend to do that. Now, we'll get upset and angry when something happens, but for the most part, we'll include really anybody into our family. And we just do that. I mean, think about Rachel Dolezal. Yeah. How did she get included into our family? There was a whole group of people, and they voted her in as president of the NCAA, that particular chapter.
But see, I don't. like I do think that we accept people into our community a little too quick, and but I don't know. Like Rachel Dolezal, was she necessarily bad for us? Like, I mean, she did a
She's
lot.
not bad. I'm just simply saying, because we're so open and we're so accepting and, oh, it's all right. Because I'm going to tell you what we do, what we typically do as a whole. If we like you and it doesn't matter what you do. If we don't like you, then we don't like you and it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
And so really, because I've seen people make excuses for somebody. You could get somebody like Jay-Z and he could do anything. He can literally do anything, but if the Black community likes him, they're going to make up some reason why whatever it was, he could be eating babies. Okay. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter because it's Jay-Z. There had to be a good reason.
So, so do you think that the Bowden gene problem should have been an African-American problem?
I think that in terms of I think that the bigger question then is, how are you defining Black? Because even if he's not African American, he's still Black to me. And I don't think like Black does not solely rest on if you're African American. So he's still Black to me. Mm-hmm. Like my best friend is Haitian American. She's still Black to me. She's not African American. And so like there are some things that like I'll have to explain to her, or like there's certain things that her being Haitian, she'll have to explain to me that I don't understand. But in terms of being Black as a whole, I would consider him to be Black. And so I do think that his situation should be important to us because I consider him Black. But then again, it depends on how you are defining Black. Because like somebody who I would consider Black, like not everybody who I would consider Black identifies as Black, because even some people who are African, they're like, oh no, I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm not Black, or I'm this, but I'm not that. And some people consider being Black, like, don't label me as Black. I'm not XYZ. So it depends on how you define Black, because everybody defines Black in a different way.
Exactly. And that, I think that's what makes all of this challenging, because you can have two people that, you know, will be mixed with Black and white. One of them might consider themselves Black and the other one might say, well, I'm mixed.
Right.
You know, but then there are a lot of people that would say, well, Mariah Carey is Black, but she's actually not, you know, but she's been accepted as Black.
Why would you say that she's not Black?
Well, that's the question.
Well, she's mixed, right? Is she mixed?
Yeah,
she's with what?
She's mixed with Black. I think that her dad is Black, and I think her mom is Black.
Her dad's like mixed or something like that. And see, that goes back to that quadroon. That goes back to, well, what is considered Black? Right. And I guess that's a good question. Delsey about to look up and find out what is Mariah Carey.
Yeah. I mean, I've always considered her to be Black.
I didn't think she was. I thought that she was like her dad. Yeah, find out.
Her dad is mixed. Her dad is Cuban mixed with African American.
Okay.
Her mom is Irish. So she is like 1/4 African American.
Okay.
And now this goes back to the one drop rule.
I did not know.
Yeah, I mean, I would consider her to be Black. I would.
So let me ask you this then. So you would consider her to be Black, but you wouldn't consider Rachel Dolezal to be Black?
Oh, absolutely not. Because there is nothing about Rachel Dolezal that is, none of her parents are not Black at all. But this is the reason also why I would not consider her to be Black. Because when she was at Howard, she filed a suit against them. I think it was like a discrimination suit because she was white and she didn't get like a scholarship or something like that. So it seems like she's Black when it's convenient for her.
But see,
if you consider yourself to be Black, then why are you suing Howard because they deny whatever because you're white? That doesn't make sense.
Everyone does that. Everyone picks what they want to pick based if it's convenient for them.
Well, that's why she ain't Black. She only Black when it's convenient to her.
If someone African is going to do the same thing. They're African American when they want a scholarship, but then when something goes down, well, no, I'm Nigerian American.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, but that's not the same thing as Rachel Dolezal, though. Like, she is a completely different situation. Because here's my thing. I would not have been upset if she worked for the NAACP as a white person. I know plenty of white people who are activists on behalf of Black people. Well, that doesn't bother me. Her lying about her being Black is the problem. You can be white and advocate for Black people. You don't have to say you Black to be a Black, like to advocate for Black people. Just be honest.
But see, now this goes into that whole transracial conversation.
Which I don't agree. I do not agree. I do not agree that she is black or that she can identify as black.
I was just about to say, if you believe that people can self-identify, then she self-identified as a black person.
I mean, she can self-identify as you want to. I'm just saying, for my purposes, I do not agree that she is black, and I do not agree that. But like I said, she has done really great work. Like in Washington, her chapter did really great work. But then she also lied about hate crime, and she said that she was like the victim of hate crimes, and then she mailed the letters to herself that were supposed to be like terroristic threats.
But so wait a minute,
to herself.
What's that? Jussie Smollett, he did the same thing, and we
He
stood.
did.
As
he
black,
did.
But as black people, we stood behind him and we laughed at him, but he's still black.
No, but that's not the same thing though. That's two completely different situations.
He lied about hate crime.
But he didn't lie about being black though. That's not the same situation. A hate crime is a hate crime, but she literally mailed the letters to herself on top of doing Howard.
If you like somebody, then you'll find a reason that
No.
Okay.
That's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is you can't compare Jussie and Rachel because they're two different situations. If you want to talk about Rachel, that's fine, but bringing Jussie in, to me, two completely different situations. Jussie is black. Rachel Dolezal is not black, and Jussie identifies as black because he is. Huh?
He self-identifies as black.
Well, he is black. He is black parent. Now he's mixed. He's mixed. But he does have a black parent. Rachel Dolezal does not have a black parent.
So question.
As black. So if you self-identify as something, you are that something, right?
No. Jussie literally has a black parent. You are black because your mother on this screen is black. That's not you self-identifying. You have a black parent. You are black.
What
Jussie has a black parent. He is
black?
Well, Rachel Dolezal does not have a black parent.
But you could say the same thing about people who self-identify as women. I could argue all day. Well, you don't have.
I mean, but again, that's not an apples and oranges situation.
I think it is.
How?
I think that self-identification is self-identification across the board. So if you self-identify as a woman, you weren't born with a vagina, but you have to respect the fact that you self-identify as a woman. I think that if she's,
like I said, in terms of Rachel Dolezal, I do not believe that she's black. And if she identifies as that way, then that's fine. But that's not to me, that's not the same thing as Jussie. Like Jussie's hate crime was horrible, and the fact that he lied about it was even worse. Because why would you make something up like that? That's ridiculous. But I don't think that talking about Jussie in the same conversation as Rachel makes any sense because it's two completely different things. That's what I'm saying.
So do you think that in regards to the Botham Jean situation, if that woman would have been anything except white on white, like if she would have been white and black, white and Cuban, Rachel Dolezal self-identifying, anything else, do you think it would have played out differently?
Yeah.
So you think she went to jail, or you think she would have got off, or what? If let's say she was like mixed, she was like Hispanic and black or something, you think she would have went to jail for a longer time?
I can't answer that, but I'll go back to something that your mom said. I don't think that it would have been as publicized as it was.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I definitely think that it wouldn't have been, we would not be talking about it as long. I don't think that the trial would have made headlines the way that it did.
But see, I think that it was publicized. I think that more black people hyped it up than white people did. And so you're saying that when black people, if it would have been a black person that busted in there and shot another black person, black people wouldn't care enough?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it wouldn't have been as covered as much in the media. I'm not saying black people wouldn't have cared. I'm just saying that we probably would have never heard of it. It probably would have just been a local story. Like we probably wouldn't have heard about it.
I think black people wouldn't have cared. I think that black on black crime happens every day in our community, and we don't do anything about it. I think that, and that's inclusive of myself. I hear about black people doing stuff to black people all the time, and I've been brainwashed to think that it's normal, But if a white person does something to us, then all of a sudden it's the end of the world. We need to form a march. But
I think that you can care about both though. I think that you can care when a white person does something. I think you can care when a black person does something too. I don't think it has to be one or the other, because I don't like, I mean, I'm from Chicago. So like, that's something that happens all the time. Like people talk about the crime in Chicago all the time. And people also like to say that like people in Chicago don't care. And I don't think that that's true either. And there are people doing things. There are several organizations in Chicago that are trying to do things to stop the crime, encourage people to turn in guns and stuff, all kind of different things. But that stuff is not publicized in media. The stuff that is publicized is like 50 murders happen, blah, blah, blah. And then they make it seem like people don't care, but the activists that are doing stuff, they just don't get the credit for it, or they're not the ones that you see on CNN. So I don't agree that Black people don't care about it. I think that that's not a sexy headline. Like, that's not going to make the news. Like, oh, activists marched for blah, blah, blah. Because it happens all the time in Chicago. And it might be on the local news, but we're not going to hear about it in San Antonio or in Alabama.
Yeah.
But now one thing I will say that I've noticed, like for instance here in the Birmingham area, as a matter of fact, there was a police officer that was shot and killed by someone when he was serving a search warrant. And what was interesting is, you know, I remember being around another group of people, Black people specifically, and they were like, well, was he Black or white? And I'm thinking, you know, so you're going to decide whether or not you're really going to, you know, care, depending on if he was Black or white. And I just thought, you know, so if he was white, then you just kind of go, oh, that's too bad, and go on with your day. But if he was Black, all of a sudden, well, who shot him? You know, and then it turned into that, because that was the next thing when they found out, well, it was a Black police officer. Then all of a sudden they wanted to know, well, who was it that shot him? And that kind of a thing. And so I don't think that ever came out. I don't remember seeing who actually shot him. But it's just kind of like, that's where we go, because we always, that whole racial tension that we have is always there kind of in the background when it comes to Black people.
So it's going on 1:00, so we'll get ready to start wrapping up. But one thing I wanted to say about it being publicized. So another thing that came out from a channel that I was watching was there was a case of a Hispanic police officer, a Black police officer that went into the home of a Hispanic guy and shot him by accident. And he got, I think, 15 years. So I think that earlier we were discussing if it would have been a Black person, what would have happened. I think that there are cases where Black people have stuff happen, but like Brianna said, that's not sexy. A Black person not getting life in prison is not sexy. You know, like it's not. They aren't going to publicize a Black person that's not being treated unfairly. You know,
right.
They're going to show like, oh, this Black person had committed a crime and he only got probation. They're not going to show that. You know, so maybe the problem is with the media. Does the media like to incite Black people? Do they only show things that make Black people angry?
I mean, I studied media, and like I wanted to be a journalist before I switched to media studies, and the answer is yes. Like the media controls what we see, and it's like it's all about profit. It's all about what story is going to drive viewers, what story is going to go viral, what story is going to make national headlines, especially if you're a local station. So if it like even like for instance like in Chicago with like all of the shootings and stuff, because that stuff happens all the time, they're only gonna like really, really, really pay attention to the stories that have like some kind of angle that can go viral or become like, you know, the next thing that people talk about. And they do control that. And advertisers control it because advertisers are only gonna advertise for successful media companies, you know? So I do think that they're extremely biased and they can control the, like, so there's one instance in particular I was thinking about with Black Regine. When I can't remember what outlet it was, but instead of using like a picture of her like smiling and laughing and stuff, they use her mugshot. And for him, instead of using like a menacing picture or whatever, they use like a regular normal picture of her.
Yeah.
Of him. That normally does not happen. Like they normally pick the most menacing picture ever. Yeah. And I was really surprised that they did that because I was like, I'm honestly surprised we saw her mugshot because that normally does not happen. They normally will pick the like the whatever picture makes them look innocent or whatever, and then for the Black person it's always a mugshot or something else. I was really surprised that they did that. That was a very intentional decision because that is not something that they do all the time.
But see, that's what makes me wonder if there's something else going on because of that particular thing. Is she the scapegoat for something bigger?
I definitely think she is. I think she is.
So you think you think there was a bigger thing going on and she just had to take the fall?
Yeah.
I completely agree. And I think that also it looks good in Dallas that they're like, well, we're the ones that actually took something like this to trial. We're the ones that like serve justice. I mean, like there's always going to be some kind of benefit to whoever. And I think that they definitely came out on the good side by serving a sentence, even if the sentence was light. She was the scapegoat. She was a good scapegoat. And realistically, they probably worked the deal out on her behalf because 10 years, she's probably going to serve 5 or 7. I would honestly be surprised if she served 7. I really would be surprised.
She's already done, what, two years? Because this trial has been going on for 2 years. Then
no, but she wasn't, I didn't think she was in, I thought she was like out on bond or something.
Well, she might have been, so it may not count. So she might have been out on bond, but I think she was out on bond, so it may not count. But
yeah, and not only that though, but what we've got to remember is when she shot him, she didn't immediately do something. She stood there and let him die.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm like, okay, because if I had made a mistake like that, I would have panicked and be like, oh my God, somebody called 911.
Exactly.
I would be doing CPR, doing something. I would have panicked and tried to do something versus standing there and watching him die.
Yeah, that was, and she testified. She testified that, hey, yeah, I didn't really try to save his life. And I'm like, at that point, you knew you were in the wrong apartment. So why not try to save his life? So, and then they were also showing.
And why admit that? Why nobody would have known? Why specifically admit that?
And also they were saying that she had a stun gun. They showed her uniform and she had a stun gun on one wrist, on one waist, and then her gun on the other one. So she could have also used a stun gun. And then they showed her apartment versus his apartment. And I think when you walk into her apartment, there's a kitchen island and his doesn't have one. So to say that you didn't realize that you were in the wrong apartment is, as soon as you open the door and you didn't see your kitchen, like you should have like, hey, I think I would notice immediately when I walk into the wrong house. I don't care how.
I mean, of course you would, but also he was sitting down on his couch. So I'm like she tried to use a self-defense angle. What were you fearful of? If anybody should have pulled the gun out, it should have been him. And I'm not saying that he should have shot her, but if somebody walk into my house and I don't know who you are, like that's not cool. So the fact that she tried to say like I was fearful of walking into somebody else's apartment, like you said, if I was I've been to your house before. If I came to if I went to your neighbor's house and I walked in, I would know in 2 seconds this is my dad's house. So then I need to leave and go to the right house and say sorry. My bad, because it's not in the house, but I have walked up to the wrong car and opened up the door and been like, this is not my car. I'm sorry. And it takes 2 seconds to say, I apologize. Like, I'm tired. It's a long day. And then leave and go to your actual apartment. So I agree with you, Leah, 100%. There are some things that are not adding up that they're not saying. I don't know when it's going to come out, if it ever does, but that ain't adding up that you just like, oh, well, I got off on the wrong floor and just, like that does.
And then she goes back and then she just kind of admits everything. And then they just, it's like, really, what does that happen? But I will say this, it's going to be interesting over the next few years to see if the Black community, with all this stuff that's happening, with all the other things that have been publicized, if as a whole any changes start to occur. I hope they do, but I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't think they will. I don't think that there are going to be a lot of changes. I think that this case, I do think that Black people are acting differently from me on this case. Usually with most cases, we're a lot more outraged. On this one, we tend to be sitting back thinking a little bit. I haven't seen I've seen outrage, but not as much as I've seen with like previous, injustice cases. Before, people would have been having marches by now, but people have just kind of been discussing it, not really going off, which kind of makes me think like Black people. I think a lot of Black people are confused
to this. Are we as a whole getting used to the idea of this type of thing happening with us?
We should be by now. I mean, it's been happening since the 60s.
Well, I'll say too, though, that the responses that I've seen is not necessarily complacency, is surprise that she even got sentenced. And so I think that the fact that she got sentenced is like, whoa, like I can't believe that she got sentenced. And so I think that from, at least from what I've seen, and honestly, even in my response, I was like, I was dumbfounded, to be honest. I was like, wow. And so I think that for me, it was kind of like, I guess justice is served. And so I don't know, maybe the consensus of, from what I've seen, is like, well, justice is served. So that means that there's nothing else that needs to happen. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what it is, because I think that if she didn't get any time, it would have been a completely different response. But the fact that she did, I think that might be making a difference too.
See, and in my opinion, that's what happened in that jury room, in that courtroom. I think a bunch of people sat around and they was like, y'all, we cannot let her go home. Like, we cannot, they knew. They was like, I don't care what we think. We may all agree that it was an accident and we don't think she should go to jail, but we can't send her home and she can't do 5 years. She has to do more than the minimum. And I think that's what happened. I don't think anybody in that courtroom was convinced that she should have went to jail based on their actions. I think they did it to please Black people. I think they were like, Black people are going to go off unless we send this woman to prison. But guys, that is our time. Thank you guys for calling in. If you're watching this playback, make sure you subscribe and like the video. I think Leah, you have a YouTube channel also, right? Are you still doing your YouTube thing? You want to give people your video?
I'm actually not active right now, and I'm deciding what direction I want to go in.
No, you had a great channel. Anyways, but
actually, I think I am going to start doing more with it. It's Leah 7305.
Okay.
Yeah, probably will be doing more with it since I'm starting things back up, starting tomorrow actually. So yeah, but look for me.
Okay, Bree, you have any endeavors you want to plug?
Yeah, it's not mine, but I'll plug my husband's podcast. It's called Drawlin, so DRAWLIN, and you can find it on Apple Music, on Spotify, on Google, pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts.
All right, guys, go check out that. Thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you can get any alerts of when I go live or post any new videos. But it was nice talking to you guys. Bye.
Bye.